April 18, 1943. The morning sun hangs low over the Pacific Ocean, painting streaks of gold across the endless blue. A formation of P-38 Lightning fighters tears across the waves, their engines howling as they skim the surface at impossible speed. Inside one of the cockpits, First Lieutenant Rex Barber grips the controls, sweat trickling down his brow under the stifling heat. The mission ahead is clear and the stakes couldn't be higher. They're about to hunt down the most wanted man in the Pacific War, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of Pearl Harbor. The man who once boasted he would one day negotiate peace inside the White House itself. Today, the Americans plan to silence that voice forever. Intelligence has revealed Yamamoto's travel schedule down to the minute. He's flying to inspect the Japanese bases near Bougainville Island. His escort, one Mitsubishi Betty bomber and 2 groups of A6M-0s providing air cover. His flight path and timing are well known. The Americans have given the mission a name that fits its purpose perfectly. Operation Vengeance. The plan is precise. 18 P-38s will take off from Guadalcanal. 12 will fly high as top cover, while 4 specially chosen pilots, the Killer Group, will dive for Yamamoto's bomber itself. Barber's Lightning flies in formation among the Killer Group, engines roaring as the dark green coastline of Bougainville comes into view. Suddenly, the radio crackles to life. Bogies. 11 o'clock high. Eyes dart to the clouds, and there they are. A formation of Japanese planes emerges through the haze. But something's wrong. There aren't just 1 but 2 Betty bombers surrounded by 6 Zeros. Confusion ripples through the squad. Which one's carrying Yamamoto? Doesn't matter. We'll take them both. The throttles are slammed forward. The Lightning formation dives low, charging straight into battle. As the 12 high-cover Lightnings climb to meet the Zeros, the 4 attack pilots break away. Barber, Thomas Lanphier, Besby Holmes, and Raymond Hine. But disaster hits almost instantly. Holmes struggles to release his fuel tanks. They won't come off. Damn it! Give me a second, I'll shake them loose. He pulls out of formation, trying to jolt them free with his wingman Hine following close behind. That leaves only Barber and Lanphier to carry out the kill mission. 2 men against 2 bombers and 6 fighters. Still, Barber presses forward, adrenaline burning through his veins. Ahead, Yamamoto's aircraft glints in the morning light, the prize they came for. Meanwhile, in one of the Betty bombers, Admiral Yamamoto sits calmly in the rear seat, surrounded by 8 of his officers, including his trusted chief of staff, Motomi Ugaki. They're en route to inspect a Japanese outpost, unaware that death is already racing toward them. Ugaki dozes off, his head nodding gently with the plane's rhythm, when a sudden movement startles him awake. One of the escorting Zeros dives in front of the bomber, rocking its wings wildly, a warning signal. Confused, Ugaki peers out the window just as the radio operator shouts, "Enemy aircraft!" "Dive, dive!" The pilot slams the controls forward. The bomber lurches into a sharp dive, throwing its passengers against their seats. Ugaki clutches at the side panel as the Betty plunges toward the treetops. Outside, the Zeros scramble to intercept the attackers. Above the chaos, Lanphier breaks off, climbing to meet the Japanese fighters head-on. Tracer rounds streak through the air like fiery comets. His guns blaze, forcing the Zeros to scatter. That leaves Rex Barber alone, 1 Lightning against 2 bombers. The Bettys split up, banking in opposite directions. Barber makes a split-second choice and dives after the nearest one. A Zero swoops in from above, showering his plane with bullets. Tracers rip past his canopy, close enough to see the glowing rounds. Barber fights to stay steady, lining up his target. He squeezes the trigger. His guns erupt and a stream of lead tears into the Betty's fuselage. Chunks of metal peel away, smoke billows from one engine. But the bomber keeps flying. Barber can feel his own aircraft taking hits. His cockpit shudders, metal shrieking under impact. Still, he refuses to break off, then silence. The Zero overshoots, soaring past him. Barber has a moment's breathing room. He adjusts his aim and unleashes another burst. The Betty's wing erupts in flames. The bomber rolls violently out of control, spinning toward the jungle below. Barber pulls up hard to avoid collision, watching as the Japanese aircraft smashes into the trees and explodes into a towering fireball. He exhales shakily. Target down. What's next? He banks back toward the second bomber. The celebration doesn't last. Three Zeros dive on Barber's tail, their machine guns lighting up the sky. Bullets hammer his fuselage as he zigzags through the treetops, flying barely meters above the jungle canopy. The roar of his engines mixes with the hiss of tracer rounds cutting through the air. He's seconds from being shot down when he spots two distant glints, Holmes and Hine. Back in the fight, Barber dives toward them. Hoping they see the Zeros chasing him, they do. The two Lightnings roll in to intercept, guns blazing. For a terrifying instant, Barber realizes he's flying straight into their line of fire. Tracers from both friend and foe fill the sky around him. He holds steady. The Lightnings scream past him, their gunfire shredding the Zeros. The skies suddenly fall quiet. Barber checks his instruments. He's alive. His plane still flies. He turns toward the last remaining Betty. Ahead, Holmes and Hine are already engaging it. The last Japanese bomber flies low over the water, desperate to escape. Holmes opens fire, his rounds hammering the fuselage. But the stubborn Betty refuses to go down. "Go down or blow up, damn you," he yells, emptying his guns before pulling away at the last second, barely missing the bomber's wingtip. Barber dives in right behind him. He lines up perfectly with the enemy's tail and squeezes the trigger. His rounds rip through the fuel tank, and in an instant, the bomber bursts into flames. The explosion consumes the plane, sending a wave of heat across the sky. Barber's P-38 flies through the inferno, flames licking the wings, but somehow he bursts out the other side, unscathed. The final Betty crashes into the ocean, disappearing beneath the waves. Barber doesn't have time to savor the moment. Ahead, Holmes and Hine are locked in another deadly dance with two Zeros. Hine's P-38 is riddled with holes, smoke trailing from both engines. He dives away toward the sea, struggling to stay airborne. Holmes shoots down one Zero, while Barber sweeps in behind the other and blows it out of the sky. The radio crackles. "Everyone, get your ass home." The surviving Lightnings turn back toward base. Their fuel low, their nerves frayed, but not everyone is gone. From the burning wreckage below, Matome Ugaki surfaces, gasping for air amid flaming debris. Miraculously, the pilot also survives. Together, clinging to a shattered wing, they drift toward shore. A few hours later, a Japanese search plane rescues them. Two of only three survivors from the two bombers. Admiral Yamamoto, however, is gone. He was killed instantly by Barber's gunfire before his aircraft crashed. Japan mourns deeply. Yamamoto was more than a commander. He was a symbol. His death sends shockwaves through the nation. Crowds gather in solemn silence as he's laid to rest with full state honors. No one feels the loss more than Ugaki. In his diary, he later writes, "Tracers flashed by our wings. I waited for the plane to level out so I could see the Admiral's bomber. But I already knew. The enemy's guns flashed once more and our world turned black. Water rushed in. Then silence. Ugaki would survive the war, but never the guilt." On August 15, 1945, the day Japan surrendered, he donned his uniform one last time, took the ceremonial sword Yamamoto had given him, and led the final kamikaze mission of the war. For the Americans, Yamamoto's death was celebrated as poetic justice, revenge for Pearl Harbor delivered with precision and courage. But victory came with a cost. Lieutenant Raymond Hine, Barber's wingman, never made it back. His damaged Lightning disappeared over the Pacific, never found again. Every pilot who flew that day was awarded the Navy Cross. Rex Barber lived on, returning home after the war to a quiet life. He passed away in 2001, remembered as the man who carried out one of the most daring missions in aviation history. And though the world would move on, the name of that operation, Vengeance, would forever echo as the day America struck back.